for the meeting. That sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it? Consultant, we brought him in all the way from half a mile up the road or something.
Aye, aye, sir.
Okay, so I now call to order the spring congregational meeting of 2019 of the First Congregational United Church of Christ of Oconomowoc. I call upon Pastor Dave Schnepp to offer our opening prayer.
Will you bow with me in prayer, please? Lord God, we've gathered this afternoon as a church family, and we just pray and humbly ask for your presence to be here with us. Through the power of your Holy Spirit, guide us and direct us in the ways in which you would have us go as a church, that we might share with others what it means to truly love you and to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Help us to discern your call for us to serve. Help us to discern what you would have us do with the decisions that we make this day. We thank you for your blessings of the past history of this church. And we look forward, Lord, to the future to come. For we know we need not fear, for you will be there with us, walking alongside of us. Bless Fred as he leads us this afternoon. Bless all of us as we share our commitment and our service to you. For it's in the name of the Christ that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Dave. I now call upon Jim Natalicio to update us on our church's financial situation.
Okay, I apologize. I just realized right before the meeting here that half of the stack of financials were from 2018 and half of them were from 2019. So if anybody wants to take a walk down memory lane, I got plenty of 18s left. But for 19, and again, some people got the financials there. There's really not a whole lot to go over other than, if you remember at the last meeting that I was at, we had kind of a faith budget. So we had an inflated pledge number there that really wasn't a true number of pledges that had come in. And we said, let's go with the faith budget, and hopefully pledges will come in or other gifts will come in. Well, that's exactly what happened. We had 2 additional gifts, one for $20,000, one for $1,000, and then one pledge that came in afterwards. So if you recall, we were inflated by about $21,000, our pledges on the actual financials. So with those 2 additional gifts, that got us to even. Then the additional pledge that came in was a little over $2,000. So when you look at our financials now, it shows actually a profit of $2,000. So what we did is we changed the pledge amount to the actual pledge amount that is been put in, and we inflated the, we didn't inflate it because it was actually happening, the unpledged section by that $21,000 additional gift that came in. So with those things, I guess it's still a faith budget because it is a church, but we do have a balanced budget now, so that's very good. Everything else is going along according to plan. The expenses are pretty much right on track. The income's coming in. Now, if you do have one of the few 19 financials, you'll see a big profit right now, but that's because we get a lot of pledges in at the beginning of the year. So a lot of people pay their annual pledge in December, so all of that is in. So it makes our pledge income really look good at the beginning of the year, and then it slows down throughout. So, but everything looks really good. Any questions? Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. At the recommendation of Winter Cloman Financial Advisors and the administrative ministry, there is a review committee that's set up, and they go through the process after the annual meeting, the corporate meeting, review the finances, and look at the numbers and make sure that everything makes sense and looks to be in order. The Financial Review Committee this year consisted of Dan Wiley, Katie Stevens, and Jill Riemann. And I'm going to read their report. It says, directed to the moderator, Fred Steinke, and the leadership team, dated June 5th, so just a few days ago. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the committee charged with review of the books for our church for the calendar year 2018, I provide the following statement. Having reviewed the books of First Congregational UCC of Oconomowoc for 2018, we find there to be no notable discrepancies in either procedure or content. During the last year of various transitions, there was increased opportunity for error, but thanks to the ongoing diligence of staff members, it did not materialize. We are confident that the integrity of the reporting of incomes and expenses has been maintained. We also noted an effort to tighten controls farther during this year. So that's it. So they've submitted it, and it looks great. I now call upon our senior pastor, David Schnepp, to give a senior pastor's report. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Michelle, I can send this to you in an email if you wish. Today, it's my pleasure to share with you good news, and great news. So please allow me to begin with the good news. 4 weeks ago, our top soccer season came to its conclusion. We had a very successful year. We had a few more kids with disabilities than we did last year to join us. So our program has grown slightly over last year. My thanks are extended to many people. Included among them are Dan Maloney, who assisted me in coaching the kids, the welcoming committee who provided the drinks and the snacks each week, to Bill Jones and John Evans who provided drinks and assistance and worked with the kids. And the highlight of the season was at the end when the kids challenged the parents, who had been yelling out instructions to the kids all season long. So the kids invited them out on the field to come out and to play them in a match. Dan and I are very happy to announce that the kids won 4-1 and beat the adults. I wish to thank you for the support of our program. And at our closing banquet, each child was called forward, was talked about how they improved, and then they were presented with a trophy. And our buddies who helped volunteer were presented with a medallion for their work at volunteering and helping our all-stars out on the field. This echoes or repeats a little bit of Jim's reports. I'm sorry for the repetition. Last January, we passed a budget with an estimated deficit close to $25,000. I'm pleased to report that one family turned in their pledge or commitment after our meeting. In addition, we received 2 additional gifts designated for the deficit for a total of $23,100. The budget that you receive reflects this increase. In addition, our church staff has been working hard to implement cost-saving measures. For example, our newly installed mailbox at the end of our driveway will save the expense of paying for a post office box at the post office. We wish to sincerely thank those families and individuals who gave special additional amounts to help us to overcome this deficit, and we appreciate that very much. A long-term concern over the last 15 years or so has been the decline of membership in our congregation. 4 years ago, the welcoming committee and fellowship committees were combined to form a welcoming committee. Ever since, our welcoming committee has been working very hard and has been very active with providing hospitality and welcoming people at our church events. However, they have not been able to address the concerns associated with our membership. For example, to contact members who have been absent from worship for a time, or to mentor with visitors and assist them as they journey toward membership. Our leadership team approved the formation of a new committee called the Membership Team, and I'm currently searching for volunteers to serve. The purpose of this new organization will be to contact members who have been absent for an extended period of time. They will also work with me to promote healthy church growth in our congregation. And it is my hope that through the work of this committee that I can implement some of the basics of church growth will I learn while earning my degree to help our church grow? As a point of information, our rolls have been actually purged or cleaned twice in the past year. Our current membership stands at 398, which include the 13 new confirmands, and this will provide a base number for us to chart our growth. Finally, the great news. A family of our church recently came to me and has made a promise to contribute a large, substantial gift to our congregation for the purpose of revitalizing our congregation. The family who made this gift wishes to remain anonymous. I've met with them and talked with them on several occasions. They did not want this gift to go towards an endowment or towards the resurfacing of the parking lot. This gift will focus upon three major areas: maintenance or update of our church facility, church growth, and a new mission emphasis. First, there are several places needing repairs or refurbishing. For example, the atrium has never been painted since the church was built years ago. You will see a place on the side where the paint is just sagging down. The carpet, which has come loose at the top there of the stairs, there by the music room, needs to be replaced. Many of the wooden sills that face the south-facing part of the building need to be refinished and revarnished due to the sun coming through and being very hard on the wood. In addition, the hallway downstairs will be painted along with updates to the children's Sunday school rooms. These are just a few of the repairs that have been included. Both the administration team and the leadership team have agreed to allow a small project team to oversee the repairs and work on the building so it can move along faster and avoid the delays of seeking committee approval for each step from 2 committees each month along the way. The members of that project team include George Mueller, Patty Ewald, Fred Steinke, and myself. Our work will begin the week of July the 8th in about 4 weeks. In terms of church growth, as part of the emphasis of this gift, we will improve the sound quality coming out of our worship service, which is posted on our website. The quality of the broadcast sound does not reflect the wonderful sounds of music coming forth from our worship service. With some changes in microphones, this situation will be improved. So instead of receiving each individual microphone over the broadcast, we will have one microphone that will hear it as if you were sitting out in the congregation. We will be also searching for a professional web design team to review our website and to make it more attractive for those who are searching for a new church home. Many people today who are beginning to search for a new church begin not in the newspaper but on the internet. And so in order for our congregation to grow, a well-designed web presence is a must. We are also in conversation with the church growth consultant, who is a former professor of mine, who taught one of my classes when I was completing the requirements for my Doctor of Ministry from Fuller Theological Seminary. His name is Stephen Goodwin. Steve's focus is in the area of leading mainline churches to turn around from decline to growth. He works with many types of organizations and helping them to revitalize and to grow. And we are just at the first beginning stages of setting this up. In order to make this successful, we will need your support and commitment toward implementing the suggested changes coming forth from that initiative. This gift will also provide resources to hold special events such as Bring a Friend Sunday, Back to Church Sunday in the fall, or Love My Church Sunday, which is traditionally held on Valentine's Day. In addition, we want to develop new professionally produced brochures so that when we talk about our church, we will have something very nice to hand them. The third part of this gift, which is a total of over $100,000 to the church, is a new mission emphasis. This new gift will also provide an opportunity for our congregation to dream and to implement a new mission outreach. We're exploring possibilities at this time. And it's our intent to develop an outreach will allow us as a congregation to be out front in the community and hopefully allow people to see what we are doing to meet the actual needs of the people in the town of Oconomowoc. In conclusion, I thank each of you. Even more importantly, I offer my thanks to God for the tremendous opportunity to serve as your senior pastor. and may all that we do and say, filled with fun, excitement, and humor, bring praise to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Dave. I would like to now call on our Director of Youth and Youth Ministries, Amy Drua.
Thank you, Fred. Well, it's a pretty busy time of year, I'm sure, for all of you, and it's especially busy for parents and families and getting all the kids ready for summer. And it's a very busy time in the church life. We just confirmed 13 youth last Sunday, which was a great honor and privilege to be a part of. Today, we celebrated our graduates, and now tonight, we will be hosting our first session of Sunday Fun Day Mini Camp, which is our new version of Vacation Bible School. I've been working really hard with education ministry on creating this curriculum and designing something new and a little different that's more attractive to families and the working moms and dads. There's a group of amazing volunteers that will be helping us implement this. This year we have 42 children registered, which has doubled from last year, and more registrations are coming in each day. I truly believe that this amazing opportunity is great to the community by having it once a month on a Sunday evening. The crazy part is, out of those 42 kids, only 18 of them are members. The rest are the community. That's awesome. So tonight when you come to outdoor worship, they will be picking their kids up, so please try to make an extra effort and show your excitement of being here. Let's see here. Education Ministry is also helping me implement a dream I actually had, and I'm so excited that we're going to be creating a whole new Sunday school program to kick off with in September, and Katie's going to be filling us more on that. Tomorrow, I will be leaving for 2 weeks for Germany. I have been chosen to be one of 7 delegates for the United States to serve to represent the Protestant denomination. Thank you. This is a huge honor. This festival is called Kirchentag. It's a Protestant festival where the church and the government come together to talk and to figure things out. About 100,000 people from all over the world come to this event. So I'm kind of intimidated but extremely excited for this amazing opportunity, but also to see the larger church at work and to bring some ideas and thoughts and everything back to the congregation here. So please keep my family in their prayers as they survive 2 weeks without Mom. I hope the house is still standing when I get home. I will also be leaving again on July 28th. We'll be taking 32 people down to Pine Ridge, South Dakota for our summer mission trip. We will be working with the Crazy Horse Schools District to help build relationships and also to work in the community to help on small work projects. This is the poorest community in the United States. So it is an honor that we get to go and help with our hands, and God has called us and led us to go there. So mark your calendars for August 18th as the youth will come back and share their experience for Mission Sunday. Any questions? All right, sweet and short.
Thank you, Amy. That's some pretty exciting stuff we have going on. We now moved into the portion of this meeting where each ministry, committee, or project group will have a brief opportunity to report to the congregation. The leadership team has asked each ministry to come up with goals for 2019 to present to the congregation. It is our hope that every congregational member will work to support and complete these goals along with the ministry that created them. For the agenda for this meeting, we have listed each ministry with subheadings for any committee or project group under the umbrella of each ministry. We would hope that each ministry representative can give us an update on meeting their goals along with an update of recent events or activities. I'll start it off for the leadership team. I'm going to do it a little differently though, instead of going through everything that we're working on, because really our job is to continue to support and hold accountable each ministry and the goals they set as First Congregational UCC of Oconomowoc as they move forward and we all move forward to nurture healthy growth and increase participation. So I think I'm going to hold off my comments for the end and then fill in. I've got a whole bunch of notes, and I can do it boom to keep it moving. I'll just mention a couple things. Working to strengthen the adult Christian education ministry is one of our goals for this year. And Dave and Amy and the education ministry are all working on some things there, new initiatives. So with that said, I think I will move over to Joe Leinen in administrative ministry. Joe. This is a busy group, so they're going to have to struggle to hold it to, what, 15 minutes? 2 minutes? 1 minute, 30 seconds, perfect.
Yep. Good morning. I'm a team of 6 members for administrative. They include Ken Lau, Bob Frick, Craig Boborowski, or Bobrowitz, John Kyle, Dan Moldenhauer, and our liaison is Bob Johnson and Jim Natalizio. A couple of our goals this year is to work on the front entrance. As you probably have seen me this winter, I've been shoveling snow and water off it. We've had a couple ice dams up there. So we're going to focus on a long-term solution of trying to get that dealt with so we don't have rain coming inside the church. A couple of other items we plan on focusing on is the exterior siding and some of the parking lot weeds and potholing we have to do. With our budget woes this year, we've made our budget, but we've cut out a lot of things maintenance-wise, so we're going to try to focus on those couple items, and thank goodness for the large donation, because that'll help out with the painting and the carpet and all these things that we've been pushing off and keep the church looking nice. Last year we met budget just fine, but from administrative, this year we're going to be right down to the wire because of all the snow plowing we had to do this spring, so it's going to be pretty tight. So I'm not sure if there's any questions, concerns? Yes.
Need a microphone, or can I just?
Jim's right behind you. He's coming.
Lois Jackson. I just have a question about the lighting in the parking lot on the lower level. Now, the choir's not going to be practicing all summer, but in the fall, will that lighting please be taken care of? Because it's pitch black out there when we leave choir practice on Wednesday nights, and in order to get some people into their cars, we have to turn our car lights on and shine on them so they can even see to get in their vehicles. So it's really a major problem. That's on a Wednesday night, and I don't know about other committees that meet on other nights, but I hope it'll be taken care of.
Okay. Yes, is it still happening as of last week, or? Okay. I know Craig went out there. He's one on our administrative. He's an electrician.
They replaced the problem, and we shouldn't have any future problems with any lighting.
Yes. But if you do hear something, please put it in the office for Liz or Pastor Dave, because we're not here all the time, so it's always nice to hear that. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Just a question. If you might be thinking about someone in the church that could refinish the pew in the front of the entrance. It's one of the old pews from the old church, but it really needs some work. And it's one of the first impressions people have.
What was the question?
That's, Linda, that's being taken care of. We do have a member that's already volunteered to do that. Because of the ice dams, the water poured down through the ceiling there at the entryway, and water
Sat on the seat of that pew, and that's what caused the paint to curdle and peel. But we've got a volunteer who's going to fix that for us.
Mike Huff, I got number one, I've got a few questions, but number one, is there going to be some electrical work done in the front?
Where at? Like
Or
in the,
some digging, because I noticed there's flags for power line.
I guess I'm not aware of anything. I can find out.
For the car show.
Oh, car show.
I don't think that would be,
Digger Hotline had to come to mark the whole property, so if cars come in, they can't drive over certain things, so that's why Digger Hotline had to come and make all those marks on the property. It was requested by the city that it's done, so it's coming out of that request, unfortunately.
Then we're all worried about the appearance of the church and what it looks like. Thank goodness Brian Hahn, we have a brand new sign out in front. We had grass growing that was almost 2 foot high. He weed whacked it down. If your first impression, I look at it, if it wasn't cut down, nobody's taking care of it. And it's just like with the mowing. Nobody signed up to mow except Brian Hahn. The Memorial Garden, it's a shambles. I wouldn't buy a plot in that. And the outdoor worship has got weeds growing like it's going out of style. It's all volunteer, but you can't maintenance. It's tough to get volunteers because they volunteer, okay, I can do it, and then something comes up and they don't do it. So I don't know what we're going to do. It's just an eyesore as far as I'm concerned. But we need volunteers for mowing. People look at the church if the grass isn't mowed. It's fine. I don't mind mowing. My wife helps me. And one other thing, we got to do something about the dogs.
Yes, we've talked about that a little bit. I think there's a Boy Scout troop that's going to be making some signs. It sounds like that might be an Eagle Scout initiative to put some bags out there and little signs that.
But this is a church property. It's not a dog park. You shouldn't. They bring these dogs, and the dogs are running all over the place. If the dog runs 100 yards away, a guy's not going to go out there with a bag chasing his dog. And I've seen bags. My wife has picked up bags that have been thrown out on the lawn. We gotta no dogs. This is not a dog park.
This is Tom Stone. I just had a question on that. So I've been talking with Bill Wild, and we've been talking about mowing the lawn. And I noticed on some of the paperwork out there that you need to be 18 to use that mower. And I'm just wondering how rigid that is. I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. Bill's also got a 15-year-old, and we'd be willing to supervise them and work with them. And that would just expand it out. I think we would be able to get some more, possibly with some training, or just wondering about that rule.
It's a riding lawnmower. The small riding lawnmower, I have no trouble with it. It's a Z-turn. I work at a golf course, and the golf course superintendents, and I've worked on numerous of them, nobody can drive big machines unless they're 18 or older. It's just, and somebody should be there at all times watching them, because these machines can kill.
So I can take a look at that in see if there's anything in the bylaws or anything that we need to talk about at administrative or leadership to look at that.
Can I just share? A lot of our teens are very responsible cutting the grass. They probably cut their family's grass, and our lawnmowers aren't these big machines, especially the smaller ones, and they need training on the zero turn. So I propose that we take a look at having our teens cut the grass. We want them to volunteer, and this is a perfect opportunity for them.
I just wanted to speak to the Memorial Garden, and maybe, Fred, you can offer something on that too, but I'm sorry to hear that somebody calls it a shambles, because I think we have a beautiful area out there, and we're proud of it. And we do have a young man who, Tom Stone's son, who is going to mow that on a regular basis. We didn't get it started quite as soon as we should have, I'm afraid, but Fred had mowed it, and I really am surprised that anyone would call it a shambles.
There was a service out there for Bill Lyons, and I'm going to say it was 2 weeks ago. I might not be quite right on that date, but it was trimmed and weed whacked and looked good, but yeah, the college young man that had done it in the past, it missed a week or two early, but I think it looks good now.
Hi, my name is Ruth Northrup. I'm a registered nurse, and I propose that we keep the above 18 age for that zero lawnmower deal, zero turn lawnmower, whatever it is, above 18. I really, really don't want to see any of these teens get hurt. And there is a reason why that it is. Some rules are for the 18-year-olds. I really think it should be above 21, but I'm not going to push that. So I just propose that we keep it as is. The rules are rules for a reason. That's it.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if you don't need to check with the insurance policy that we have, because a lot of insurance companies require that anyone using that kind of machinery be 18. That's why factories don't hire kids that aren't 18 yet, because their insurance policies won't cover them for the machinery. So I think you have to do that before you can do anything.
Okay, thank you. We can look into that. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Under the umbrella of the administrative ministry is the budget committee, the landscaping committee, and the various fundraising projects such as Craft Fest, or the new name for it this fall, the rummage sale, the car show, and the golf outing. Is there a representative from the budget committee here? Okay. How about the landscaping committee? I do know that there was a work party here approximately 2 weeks ago that cleaned up and did landscaping, and looks pretty good out there, put bark underneath the shrubs and the trees, so I think it's in pretty good shape. The rummage sale met its budget. Jill Riemann does an outstanding job on that, and I think now it's all cleaned up and everything's put away, so I guess it's time to start bringing stuff in again for next year's deal and get her filled up. Yep. Anything on the car show?
Bring your cars, come and attend, have fun, buy raffle tickets to support the event.
Did we hear all that? Show up, support, bring cars, buy raffle tickets,
Eat some good food.
eat food, drink some beer. It was a great event last year. You know, I think one of the things that we might overlook a little bit, but it's wonderful to have exposure for our grounds and our church. So I like it a lot to see the youth soccer groups playing out there every week. I think it was Monday nights, car show out there. It looks like there's stuff going on here. And as you wade into this church, there is a lot of activities and a lot of events and a lot of people working behind the scenes. So we're going to start maybe tooting our horn a little bit more and letting people know what we got going. I'll speak on behalf of the golf outing just a little bit briefly. It's going to be August 12th. It's pretty well along in the process, if you will. There are sign-ups every week out there in the back on the left-hand side. John Evans manned the booth today. There's been I heard a couple of comments about the cost of the event, and it's not cheap. You know, and the dinner's not inexpensive, but it is a major fundraiser for our church. So you got to put it in that context. The dinner isn't marked up exorbitantly from what our cost is, and if you can afford it, it's great. We'd love to have you, but don't feel obligated, I'll say also. It's a fun time. One of the things that we're going to attempt to do this year as a committee is our budget is $17,500, which means we have to clear 17,000. Our goal is to clear 17,500 to help make the budget numbers. If we increase that, we have approval from leadership somehow to donate the overage. So let's say we make $19,000. We designated 2 charities that we want to give that money to in behalf of our church. And that is Family Promise. Family Promise, I said that right, and Lake Area Free Clinic. So our intent is to do that. So the monies you support, eventually we want to get to the point where it doesn't have to all go to operational on these things, and we can do things for our communities, part of the outreach, and I think that's also where we want to go, and it looks good and helps us grow. Education. I now, sorry.
I was just going to say, we could use a few more volunteers for the day.
Okay.
Maybe an hour shift or something.
If you couldn't hear, that was Lois Jackson, and Lois said we could use some more volunteers. I think you're in pretty good shape, but
Yes,
we need some more volunteers for the day, so if you have any interest at all.
2 or 3.
Linda?
What you were saying before, a little bit about the things we do here for the community. Going back to when we purchased this property, the lady who owned it said she wanted it to be used for community. So every time we put something on for a different service or a group, we are actually fulfilling her wishes.
And that's a big deal. Thank you, Linda. And again, I think we need to do a better job of tooting our horn. We got to let people know we're here. We're a little bit off the beaten path, but if let's say we're able to raise an extra 1,000 or 2,000, we can do it for charity. What's wrong with standing there? You see a lot of that where there's a big check and there's a group and they're giving it to scholarships or wherever it goes. We got to do that kind of stuff. Okay. And another opportunity is with the Vacation Bible School, and you've got umpteen kids, I don't know the number that you said, but they are people, families that aren't presently part of our church, many of them. And let's go out of our way and be extravagantly welcome, I think is a phrase. Anything else on golf or any of the fundraisers? If not, education, and Katie Schmidt, are you? Here we go.
Hello, everyone. I was sitting back there, and while Fred and Amy were talking, like, and they took that, and they took that, but so you might hear a lot of redundance in what I'm going to share with you today. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Katie Schmidt. I am a mother of 3 children here in our church family, 6, 5, and 2. So when they asked me to be the chair in education, it was a no-brainer. My heart is in education, along with all of my amazing board members. I have Marty Wildley, Darla Corby, Emily Steckhauer, Jenny Wallace, Chris Nedalenzio, and then we have Amy and Dan Maloney also joining us at the table. So Fred, we're going to do a lot of tooting the horn this year with our education ministry, and what I want to use this time for is to reiterate tonight, we have 42 children. That's a lot of kids. We have 17, 3 and 4-year-olds? Those are kids that could walk, yeah. So if anyone's available tonight, but those are kids that could walk in these doors and say, I want more. Let's show them our Hearts and Hands preschool. Let's have one child say, let's come back. Because next month we're doing it again, and the month after that. This is an amazing opportunity to get the kids in. That's how we're here. We started at Hearts and Hands. Kids were hooked, mom was hooked, our family is here now. So I'm excited to share that with these children coming in this evening. So 42, we have, how many volunteers? 10? 20 volunteers this evening. A couple that are actually just within the community heard about our program and said, we want to come and have this experience with you as well. So tonight, come to the outdoor worship. We're going to be setting out a teepee tonight. Once you pull in, it is going to feel like camp. We send our youth to the Pilgrim Center. When we were building VBS, we pulled up their mission statement, and we're bringing camp to Oconomowoc tonight. So you're going to hear songs around a fire. Kids are going to be walking around with their signs, and we're very, very excited about that. So even if you're not coming to worship, just drive by and see the fun. Adult education, we will continue to support Dave and all of the adult education. And Sunday school next year. Next year is a new year, a new beginning for Sunday school, and we are so excited. We are going back to the basics of our curriculum. We are wanting to increase the knowledge of basic Bible stories with our youth, and that will be done through 4 learning specialists and 4 travelers. Let me back up. Our 1st and 2nd grade classroom for the last Sunday had 11 students in it. That was one of our highest classes. And we listened to the kids. What do you want to see when you come to Sunday school? Besides snacks, which was the common theme with all the children, they wanted games. They wanted to watch videos. They wanted to listen to stories. So as an education board, we heard them. And we're not buying any curriculum. We're not Pinteresting. We are just going to use the knowledge and the tools that are sitting right in front of me right now, and we are going to build the curriculum together. We are forming a curriculum committee. If that is something that anyone is interested in, please reach out to Amy or myself. But we want to just use the talents and the gifts that we have here in our church family. So like I said, we'll have 4 learning specialists. Those individuals have the same curriculum that they will be working on each week. I'm not going to go too far into this because you guys are like, ah. And then we're going to have travelers that go with the students. So you would travel along with the students. No curriculum or activities needed. We just hope that you share your heart with those kids. It's the relationship. It's that one time that someone says, hi, do you remember me? Of course I remember you. So we're hoping that kids will then come back because they know they have that relationship here. Let me see. I believe you said today, Dave, I wrote down, each of you have a gift, and we do. I ask every person in our congregation 3 weeks, which is actually 3 hours. 3 hours a month, you would be able, it's actually not even an hour. It's actually more like 25 minutes that I asked for you to come downstairs, be with our youth, and share your heart. You don't need to know anything about a curriculum. Education Board has your back. We just want you to come down, see our new kids connections. We are redoing the environment also, so I don't know all committees and all that aligns, but we are, we're painting, we're moving around furniture. We want it to feel like home. So please come join us. Sorry for getting on my little spiel, but Fred, I just started tooting my horn about education because we are excited. So any questions? There will be more information, and I encourage you, if you are a leader of anything, encourage people to watch for emails from myself, Education Board, Amy. We're going to have informal gatherings this summer just to kind of share our mission and what we're doing next year with our youth. Questions? You have 3 seconds. No? All right, thank you so much.
That is exciting, and it's great to have enthusiastic leadership. So thank you, Katie. Next, I would like to call on Mission Ministry and Cindy Meckel. As long as she's up here, she's going to cover all the wonderful things that she's involved with.
Good morning, I'm Cindy Meckel. I'm the new chair of Mission, and I know everyone else listed who is on their mission or on their team with them. I don't have that. I feel like a loser right now. I have a wonderful group of people on mission. How's that? And I just got the board on Tuesday. So there's my excuse. We do have awesome people working on mission. And I'm just going to go right down the goals of mission because this is a great way to report on what we're doing. Reestablish working with Habitat for Humanity. Last Saturday, Rochelle and some family and friends had worked, and our next Saturday, so bring out your calendars, is September 7th. And the Habitat for Humanity, we build a house for for a family who applies for a grant, and they have to put in their time to build the house with the volunteers. My family has done this. We couldn't do it June 1st, which broke my heart, but it's a fun day. And you get to learn how to use tools. You're building a house, you're building relationships, and you're doing really good work. So, and how old do you have to be with your parent? 16. So 16 and above can come and work. So Easton's been coming with us, and can't use the power tools till you're 18, but there's a lot of things for those kids to do as well. Next is continue to host Family Promise 4 times a year and to continue to get new volunteers. Our guests will be arriving on June 23rd through June 30th. We could use a few more volunteers, but we're pretty good to go. It is almost 5 years for Family Promise, you guys. That's pretty cool. So the Family Promise leadership is trying to figure out how we're going to celebrate 5 years. But 5 years of hosting homeless families in the Waukesha County area is an amazing thing. So look for that. There's a brat fry in Heartland Piggly Wiggly on June 23rd for Family Promise, a great way to support Family Promise and eat. And then there's a golf outing on July 13th. So all of you golfers who are golfing with us in August can also golf in July with Family Promise, and there's information on their website. If you still want to be trained to be a Family Promise volunteer, let me know, and I can hook you up with that. It's really an awesome, awesome organization. And we're looking forward to having lights in the parking lot when our guests are here next time. So thank you for bringing the lights back. Lois is right, it was really dark down there. So add more community-based projects for mission ministry and part of it was increasing the awareness of giving to the food pantry on the first Sunday of each month. Our wonderful new office person, Liz, is putting the announcements in the bulletin and the weekly announcements for me automatically now. So bring those donations for the food pantry on the first Sunday of each month. Continuing with the monthly singing collections. Every month, the coins that go in and make a joyful noise in our offertory are given to a different charity. This month, it's Lake Area Free Clinic. Offer and fundraise for a youth IG summer mission trip, and we heard about the mission trip from Amy. That's a lot of people going. That's so outstanding. Yes. So that's outstanding. One of the goals that I'd like people to think about that we're struggling with is to offer a young adult mission trip at some point, or an intergenerational mission trip. So, we've done Chicago in the past. There was a group that went down to New Orleans a few years ago. Let's dream a little bit about how we can not just have our youth do mission trips, but maybe our young adults and adults do mission trips. So think about that. And then encourage the congregation to support the mission trip. The mission trip is part of our singing collection. During the year, I think it's in June or July, mission trip will be coming up, and all those lovely poets that make a joyful noise in the offering plate will go to the mission trip, which is great. And I'm super excited to hear Pastor Dave talk about the donation and a new mission for the church. So please work together with Mission Ministry and how we can support that, because how awesome is that? And then I will report, or any question on mission. Otherwise, I'm firing right along. Maggie.
Thank you. Maggie Hollis. We have an incredible mission here at this church that needs rejuvenation. I don't think most of us realize we have a sister church in Milwaukee, New Hope Baptist Church. And we go in a very small group of us now because although we've been doing it for years, many of the people who have been doing it are no longer with us. Well, that's what I mean. They're aging or they passed away. So I just wanted to say a few words about the church because it's an amazing thing to see. The people at New Hope Baptist are not wealthy. They have lots of needs, and they are in an area where there are many needs. We take all the women's clothing left from the rummage sale, and believe me, there is a lot. If you saw it in the unfinished space. We take it down And they put it out on racks and on shelves with signs and allow people to come 2 Thursdays every month and take what they need. And the clothing disappears. It's amazing to see. They have a school in the church, so we can't take it until school is out, which is why sometimes we see it longer than we'd like. But there's an adult daycare center in the church. We have lost our contacts with people in this church and people in that church, and it would be so helpful to get it back again and maintain it. We've decided that next year, instead of the 4 of us who are aging, loading all the clothing onto vans by ourselves and taking it down, we're going to have that loading happen on a Sunday after church with fellowship hour in that empty space, if possible, so that we can get the vans loaded. But please, let's keep in mind that church as our sister church and do what we can when we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie, for that. We were just talking about that at our meeting on Tuesday, and I asked Tracy to contact the contact person at that church to have that church write an article for our branches to let all of us know what help we're doing for them and how they use the clothing and the stuff that we do for them. Because I said to Tracy, people need to know that this is going on. So thank you for bringing that up. And Tracy is going to be doing that. Hopefully we'll be ready for the branches in July about how the relationship has been working and what New Hope is doing with the articles. And do we bring just women clothing or all the clothing that's left over? Everything.
We bring a lot of clothing, but various other organizations in our area have a need for certain types of clothing, and so they get those and we get
Got it.
the rest.
Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. Mission is talking about it. There should be an article in July, and I have Tracy hopefully writing our part of it, and then with the New Hope Baptist part of it to marry what's going on there. So look forward to that. Any other questions for Mission? Thank you. Okay, now moving on to Hearts and Hands Preschool, which in my mind is also a mission. We don't fall under mission, but in my mind is a mission. We just finished our year in May, and we had an outstanding year. This year, we had quite a few kids with differing abilities, and so we increased staffing in the classroom so that we could appropriately serve these children, meaning that my administrative time was cut pretty much this year by a lot of hours in order to make budget, but God provides. And we had lots and lots of families join us in the second half of the year, which never really happens. And we have made budget. For fall, we have registrations that are higher than we have ever had. So I tell you what, you start to give and God just like piles it on. And so that is really cool. We still do have room for fall because we can increase and we can add classrooms. And so spread the word. We still have room for more kids. But the numbers for fall are outrageous, you guys. It's just amazing to me how many children are going to be walking through our doors. And we keep talking about community outreach and reaching out to everybody. You know, so we had about 42 kids this year and 5 went to church. So there's 37 families that are ready to be welcomed, ready to get information about church, ready to step in the door maybe on a Sunday. We're talking about VBS. There's quite a few of my preschool families that are coming tonight that don't go to church. And so that's exciting for me. I look forward to seeing them this evening. So keep that in mind. We've got lots of families here 5 days a week that are just, you know, some are church members, some don't go to church, some are searching. So keep that in the back of your head. This year, our staff will be starting our 12th year together. If you guys know anything about daycare or about childcare, that is beyond, beyond, beyond. The fact that we are all together, we all absolutely love our jobs, and it's just blessed to be here. And then talking about getting our information out there, preschools both on Facebook and on Instagram. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. But not only that, when we post, interact with it. Because how more people, this is how social media works, the more you interact with what we're posting, the more people will see it. And I don't just mean hitting a like. I mean a comment or a heart or a share it with your friends or a something. And so that's a great way that we can get the word about our church and our preschool out there is on social media. Our young families are on social media, and they work really hard at spreading that news, and especially if it's good news, let's spread that, you guys. So, on your Facebook account, like the church, like preschool, and interact with what's being posted. On Instagram, follow, it's Ocon UCC, follow that, follow Hearts and Hands Preschool, and share that. Share. Okay? I think that is it for me. That's long enough, right? Any questions about preschool? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. I now call upon Tim Schuyler to report for Spirituality Ministry.
Good morning, everyone. I am the chair for Spirituality Ministry. Our team this year is Sue Pershon, Carrie Hack, Judy Schuyler, Christy Staus, Mickey Kellner, and Rachel Stout is our liaison to leadership. The goal of spirituality is once again to work on enhancing the spiritual and temporal welfare of the church and of the service. And I want to start off first by thanking all those that volunteer every Sunday to help with the service, whether it's ushers or with communion like we had today. I want to have our audiovisual team. I want to give a big thanks to Tom Stone and all the tremendous work that he's been doing and continues to do to help us. It's much appreciated. One of the things that we're doing to help with the services is to work on standardization of our visuals. So Sue and Rochelle are working on having a standardization process so that that is more predictable, consistent between services. There was a project group that was formed. Those that are attending the first service, the traditional service, many like to be able to see the music that goes along with the lyrics that we project up on the screen. So there was a project team that was put together to look at bringing hymnals back in, and that has been approved. There was a gift that was made to purchase those hymnals. So the project team looked and reviewed the hymnals that we use. So we're selected one that pulls the majority of the music that we've used. For the other songs that aren't contained, we'll continue to have the sheet music, Xerox, and have copies. The goal is to hopefully, with that sheet music, to create a binder so that we can recycle that. But anyhow, in the near future, we'll have hymnals back for those that like to follow the music. Not so much for the connection service, oh, sorry. The project team and the work that was put in for the connection services, which is the second service, the contemporary service, has come to a close. We think that we've gotten to the point where how we're trying to run that service has been brought to sort of a conclusion as far as the continued enhancements of it. So I want to thank those that were on that project team for their hard work. We look forward to the fall and the continuation of the connection service. The last thing pertaining to that as well is the leadership team has reviewed all the comments that were made pertaining to the changes at the services that happened over the past 6 months. The recommendation is that we are going to continue with the service times that we had over this winter season, so that'll pick back up after the end of summer. And the leadership team will continue to monitor the attendance at the services and, again, the congregational feedback pertaining to that. Any questions for me? All right, thank you very much.
I now call upon Bonnie Lagerman to report on behalf of Stewardship Ministry.
Thanks, Brad.
2 minutes.
Thanks, Fred. I'm going to have two reports, both stewardship and then also the legacy committee that is part of the stewardship responsibility. This is my third year with stewardship. My first year was a learning year when Fred was chairing. Last year was a second learning year when I had to learn how to chair. And the third year is, I think, when we have 2-year terms, you just kind of getting your feet wet and you weren't getting warmed up. And so I said, okay, I would do it for 2 more years. So this is my third year, and I'm really happy. We have a tremendous team this year. Chris Mall, Mike Hero, Sue Maloney continues, Carol Mulder, and Tom Stone, and then Michael Higbee is our liaison, and Pastor Dave is there as well. So this is a learning year as well as we continue to work, as we look at our efforts related to time, talent, and treasures. And we do have 3 goals we have established. One is to better educate the ministry and the members of the congregation about stewardship. When I was asked to serve by Michael 3 years ago, I was like, okay, we just try to get money from people. And it's like why? I mean, for what? And what do we do with it? And how much do we need? And so a lot of what we're spending time on this year is we're working with Jim, creating pie charts to understand how revenue and expenses are being distributed, and then try to figure out a way to make that information more usable to the congregation as we move on to our goal for this next year. So that learning process leads us to 2 other goals. The establishing of a financial goal of $305,000 for pledges. We have a budget much more than that, but we're looking at pledges, or we're calling it a 3% increase from 2019. You've already been hearing about our shortfall, and thankfully we had some people come forward. We'd like to think that we wouldn't have to rely on people coming forward, and that we would see it in our hearts to be able to increase our pledges, or, as we're all talking about, increase our membership. The third goal we're working on is to expect 80% of our eligible members to volunteer at least one activity or event, and that's really hard for us to get a handle on, and we're working towards that. And right now, as we have been told, we have 398 members. So if we meet that goal, we would need assistance from 318. So how do we know we have at least that many people getting involved? So we're trying to figure out ways to do that. And one of the ways we thought would be is people that are involved in leading events like the golf outing or the car show, or like Jill did with the rummage sale, that if they could at least keep a tally on numbers of people. For example, Jill did a phenomenal job of letting us know 150 folks from this church and the community teamed up for the rummage sale. And then we'd also maybe encourage the use of Sign Up Genie, which Rochelle just did. I think when you balance that with your time and talent cards, you don't know at the time you fill those out in November what your availability is in June, but it's sure nice to get an email reminder saying, hey, can you help? And that helps us in addition to what goes on out in the fellowship area. We'd also had some feedback from some of our folks about how to better communicate our message to the members to contribute time if they would understand how that contribution might save the church some money. So we tried to figure that out and said to Jill, well, what would that take to take 150 people and multiply that times hours given? Well, she said, Bonnie, we probably are losing money because there's so much time given. So that's not going to give us a good message. But we did think about like cutting grass. So for example, Mike was talking about cutting grass. Chris Mall signed up, but nobody called him. How do we bridge that gap? And if we have people cutting grass, how much does that technically save the church? We have Tom and his team contributing on the audiovisuals. We had a part-time position for I think like $10,000 or whatever to pay somebody that didn't materialize. So that is in effect saving the church money to get us these particular contributions that we have each Sunday. So how can we make that helpful to let people know how many of our folks are really giving? The second thing we're trying to do is figure out, by looking at our promise card, our pledge card, our interest card, whatever you want to call it, how to make it more useful. For example, and I'm going to tease Tom because we had somebody, he had his son Ethan sign up for cutting grass. So Liz, being new to the church, calls Ethan to, not to cut grass, to transport somebody who needed to be transported. And Liz thought, oh, Ethan, okay, I'll call him. Well, he's 14, Tom. That wasn't quite
helpful. So we have to figure out a way, when you sign on, how serious is that? Or one of our members will say, well, Bonnie, I don't know what to sign up in November if I'm going to be available. Well, so I don't sign up. So maybe we just should have interest indicators of what people might be willing to contribute to, and then we figure out a way to tap those folks. So we've got to continue to work on that. And then the last thing, part of that, is that recognition. We have some people, Ruth particularly was mentioning, how do we recognize people for giving of their time? And in a church, it's so different than in a school or other places where you give your time, because we're really all volunteers. But Jill, for example, put an exhaustive list of people together, and their names were there. And people sometimes like to see names. So as others take leadership responsibilities, if there's a way to do that, communicate in the branches or in the weekly communication, we know who's all contributing. And then I think it was Liz put together in the last branches a nice little summary of all the things that people did to contribute. So we have right now 302 emails going out of Liz's office and 20 folks getting hard copy mailings of communication that leaves this church. So the challenge is, for those of us who use or don't use technology, we are trying to communicate. How do we receive that, and how do we use it? I think those are ways that we're looking at for stewardship. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you from stewardship is we're now deciding on our message. Our message for next year is Shine. It's the theme that's being used for the General Synod Conference that's being held in June in a couple of weeks. It's taken from Matthew 5:16, and I use my Good News Bible at home. In the same way, your light must shine before people so that they will see the good things you do and praise your Father in heaven. And we're going to be having Addie Mulder, Carol's daughter, is going to develop the logo and the symbol for us, and we'll be launching that as we get together later this month. So that's stewardship in action. I think it pays sometimes to have a little experience along the way so that hopefully we can make some changes from some of the things that we've been doing in the past. The last thing I wanted to mention is the Legacy Committee oversees the Memorial Fund and the Endowment Fund, and they are the responsibility of the Stewardship Ministry and meets quarterly. We have Barb Buer, Bob Johnson, Dan Wiley, Pastor Dave, and somehow I became chair of this as well. And I guess it kind of makes sense, but I'm learning, like, hugely. We've met twice so far this year, and we did send a legacy brochure out in February that was developed under the leadership of Gordon Pierce. We learned we had a little trick, and some of the brochures went to kids that were just confirmed. That was probably not appropriate, but we didn't necessarily know that, so we have to work on that in the future. We are really working hard on updating the Memorial Fund. Thanks to Liz and Cindy, we have an accurate, to-the-minute account of what our money is, and we have $4,340 that's considered undesignated. So that means if there are some needs by various committees that have an interest, for example, we just had some banners requested for the car show to be used in other ways. We authorized the purchase for that. Liz has now created cards to be sent to members, non-members, and a tax letter. So that's all been formalized. And then we made a recommendation to the leadership team for the formalization of the creation of a 3-member investment review panel. So they would work with Bob, who invests our money, but we have others who work alongside of him. And the last thing we're going to be working on is formalizing the procedures. A lot of things that we've been doing has been, well, they used to do it this way, and some people knew and others didn't. And we wanted to get that a little bit more formalized. So that's what Stewardship and Legacy is doing. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah, Lois. Yeah.
Maybe I should stop talking, Lois Jackson. No, when you mentioned Shine, that's going to be a theme, there's a new church in town that I was told is called Shine.
Ooh.
So I just want to make sure that we don't confuse ourselves in any literature or anything with that new church.
I think that's a good observation. We are meeting June 20. We will bring it back to that team and see what they think about that. And Pastor Dave is part of that as well. So thanks for that comment. Any other comments?
We could call it Shine Better.
Sandra Hogan. I do know, though, I don't want to use names, but we have lost members because they did sign time and talent
Right.
cards, and they were never, ever contacted for what they volunteered to do.
Sandra, you are totally, we're hearing that as well. And there's a couple, I think there's a couple of places where that's broken down. And we're working with Liz on that as well. The information that we gather that people sign then is put into, it's compiled, but then I don't know how well it got disseminated. So we're going to suggest to Fred when they do the chairs meeting that that team, those list of people that we have already known is given. And that was Chris Mall's point too about cutting grass. Nobody called. But you know, certain things are kind of interesting. I sign up to bring flowers, but then I have to sign up at the kiosk. Like, well, why do I need to do both? You know, is that good or bad? We don't know that. So I think we're just asking some of those questions and trying to resolve that, but you're right. We are aware of that. Thank you. Others? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I now call on Peg McCollum for welcoming.
You heard me. I said I want to be next, please.
Oh, I didn't hear you, but here you are. I think that's the last one. W's.
Was that how you, oh, he does it alphabetically. We'll have to change our name next time. This is going to be very short. We are actually in kind of a hiatus for our change, the Welcome Committee. So much so that we don't even have to have a meeting this month, which is wonderful. The next thing is the picnic. I know that is sometime in August. I don't have the date for that, but I think it's the week after the kids come back from the mission trip. I think it's the next week after that. Also, I have a committee that I cannot say their names, but they are, when I start a sentence, they say, okay, we'll help. They are absolutely wonderful. We are reaching out to the community, and we also reach out to within the church. I do know that anyone who signed up for fellowship hour got called, because we don't have nearly enough people on that list from your time and talents to help us with that. So if you want to just kind of give a little suggestion that you would be willing to do that, we will certainly listen to you, because it's the same old, doing it over and over. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for serving on a ministry, committee, or project group, or who is serving our church in another capacity. As you can see, these folks have put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I think they're all doing a great job. So thank you very much. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things that maybe we haven't talked about in all the reports so far. Again, I want to say thanks to Tom Stone for stepping up on the audio visual. He's done a wonderful job. I know it was mentioned before, but it's much appreciated. And when he first said he was going to do that, he said, well, cut it off at a year because that's enough time. And then he's kind of stepped up. So I think he's actually enjoying it. And it's a lot of time, but thank you, Tom, that you're doing great. I do want to mention the play that was here, and I believe it was May 5th. It was well attended. For those of you who saw that, Pastor Dave, I think, wrote a screenplay based on a book that I don't remember the name of, but it was well done. We had Michael Stevens did a tremendous job. Callahan Cowles did a tremendous job up
Jennifer
here.
Hogan.
And was it Stephanie?
Jennifer.
Jennifer. It was amazing. It was just amazing. You know, I watched, and it was on the screens, but I think a lot of people didn't recognize the words were up there, and they were just sitting here talking across on a table, and it was kind of a I'm Jesus was Michael Stevens' part, and didn't look like Jesus, but meeting somebody and trying to bring him in. And, you know, they could see the words up there, and people thought, how did they memorize all that stuff? You know, and Corey Schneider directed it, so he did a great job. So again, something else that's been going on in our church and a little bit different. There's a blurb you may have seen in this week's email that went out to the congregation about sale of the lawn tractor. There's an older one out there. If somebody wants it, put a bid in. I think it's a heavy-duty, good engine for home. So take her home, make a bid. Amy had a licensure renewal, so she's good for another 2 years, I believe. I believe it is. That's the word I got. We talked about hymnals. There was mention from Mike out there about the, Felix keeps dropping down, about the hiking path. And we have beautiful grounds here at church. And one of the dreams that I heard recently was how do we enhance that hiking path, if you will. And there was a thought that came, and I think it was Pastor Dave, that said, what if we had some nice, really nice benches out? I know John Evans got us some benches a few years ago, and they're placed, and there were some off of someone's pier. But what if we had some really nice, welcoming looking benches out there somewhere, maybe similar to what's in the Memorial Garden? And then what if we had some signs up on that path, some spirituality or Bible verses or something like that, to encourage people to use it, whether it's church members or non-church members. I think we got wonderful property here, and it's good to have people using it. I do agree on this doggy doo-doo issue. The other part of that equation, if we're going to have dogs on the property, people have to pick up after their pets. And maybe that requires we get, you know, similar to when you walk in parks in town, you got these little doggy stations with bags in, and maybe we got to have a couple signs that kindly say, God bless you, but pick up after yourself or something, okay? Or we put trail cams out there, I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of a wish list kind of thing, and maybe we could do something where we'd ask for some donations to pay for some of that kind of things. Sunday evening services, first one's tonight, we talked about that. There's the General Synod is that the General Synod, the National Synod? The really, really big UCC meeting that's happening starting the 21st in Milwaukee. I know most of the schedules for that are online, so if you're interested. There was also a missive that came out and an invite from the Watertown UCC Church that you might have seen, where they're offering a bus for people if you want to get a ride in and come back on, I don't remember the date.
Sunday for the picnic.
Sunday.
There's a big picnic on Sunday, so go, go, go. It's going to be a
So,
ton of fun.
I would encourage you, if you have any interest at all, to go to that. Don't think I'm going to touch on that. There was a Bible study that happened for 8 weeks during the wintertime, February, March-ish, I think. It was supposed to happen, maybe it went longer than 8 weeks because some of us are slow readers, but it was well attended and it worked well. And of course, the women's Bible study has been going. I think that's finished right now. One of the biggest issues that I've heard when we had the feedback on the service times was the lack of community between the two services. You got an 8 o'clock and you got a 10 o'clock and you got that hour in between or 45 minutes in. And I guess my thought is we ought to put on our thinking cap, and is there something we could do in that time frame? Something meaningful. Maybe it's a series of videos or something like that on something religious or community service or whatever it is. So I don't know if that'd be education, ministry, I don't know where it falls, or leadership, but maybe there's something we could do to have something going in other than just coffee and donuts where people sit there for a little bit and they leave. And maybe some of the second service folks would come in early if we had a nice program. Basically, that's what I have. I'd like to open it up to the congregation. Are there any concerns? Anybody want to express any thoughts? Anything we've missed? Yes, Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I would like to readdress a topic that has been brought up by people in the past, as well as at these meetings in the past, and help me to understand the reluctance or the hesitation to share with our entire congregation the minutes from our ministry meetings. We have several people in our congregation that, for whatever reason, can't be here at worship, and it's a good way to keep them connected. I know we've heard in the past that it was something that was going to be discussed and considered, but we're a congregational church, so I don't understand why this can't happen. We already have the database in place. What do we need to do to make that happen?
Lynn, thanks. I'm not going to, I will answer for Fred. This is the first time I've ever heard this. So I promise you we'll talk about it at the next leadership meeting. How's that?
Sure, you can make a motion. I don't see why not. Who moved? I'm sorry. Who moved?
I move to have the ministry minutes distributed to the entire congregation when they are available.
And that was Lynn Zwaska. Second by Amy Hayes. Is there any more discussion?
I think there needs to be discussion on this.
Okay, there is discussion.
I mean, how are we going to handle this? How is it going to be sent out? Who's going to be responsible for doing that? I think we need to have a discussion on how this process is going to happen to allow it. So I don't know if we can make a movement to have further discussion and I don't know.
Right now, they're being emailed after they happen to a
To-
select group of people.
To each ministry. So if you serve on a ministry, you're receiving the minutes. So that's how it's happened. And then I think you can request from the office, if you want a copy of the minutes, you can request the office and Liz can email it to you. It's just more emails coming in, your emails and all that stuff.
I think
But-
what we should find out from Liz, because right now she has a whole email group that we get, like I get a slew of ministries.
Right. Yeah, you get, because you serve on a ministry, so you get everybody's.
But there's a lot of people who are on that list. So when we talk about that, do we really mean everybody should get all of that?
Well, I don't know, this is Peggy McCollum. I don't know why that isn't really easy to do. Just simply send it to everybody, and who wants to read it will read it. That just seems to me we all just get the branches.
I mean, yeah, that'd be easy.
Yeah, I would just, this
It
is,
could just be a link that
Get 'em.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It would be easier just to have them
Exactly.
posted or a
And it
link,
can get
instead of sending, because not everyone's
Yeah.
gonna want it.
Right.
Instead of sending it to everyone, it just make a place where it's available that people could go and look for them.
It could be something as simple as the weekly notes, or the weekly announcements. Here's the link of a Google Drive folder. You have viewing capability. All of them just feed into that, so it's less work for Liz. It's more efficient. It houses, and if you're interested, then you can read it. You could even put them in by folder, month of May, whatever the month is, and all the minutes go within there. That's my recommendation.
I second it.
Well, we have a motion and we have a second, now we have a third, I think, so we're in really good shape. I don't see any reason we can't do that if you folks want it. It's, there's no secrets here. Amy?
Amy Hayes, I just suggest, once we do this, which I agree we should, is that we send out an email or something to let all congregational members know that they are now available.
And where they are.
And where they are. So then it's their choice if they want to read them or not, but at least it's available. Plus, we're talking about all these things we want people to volunteer for. Now they have an opportunity, they can literally look, and then it's their choice if they choose not to.
Liz, do you see any issues with this at all? As far as, you're getting all that stuff together, but it's just disseminating it?
I would just ask the committees to be more
Prompt?
prompt to remember to send them to.
She can only put in there what she gets?
I'm not a member, but I'm speaking. Yes, I need people to be sure to
Well,
send
that's
them to
right.
me. I do a lot
Shush.
of trying to get them. So, yeah, if they can step up and send them to me, I'd be happy to post them. wherever they need to be posted.
Joan Robbins. You know, I've been a member of this church since the 1980s, and I have, as my friends can attest, I have said all that time, since that time, one of the biggest problems in this church has been the communication. This is a way to help that communication. I have heard so many people gossiping and telling stories about different meetings and what's going on, what's going to happen. This is one way we know what's going on in this church. This is the pulse of this church. And I stand here and I look around and I see nobody under the age of, what?
Hey, Katie. 22, age 22.
Nobody under the age of 40. How's that? Is that safe? I apologize. I still see gray hair. I just think this is important. We need to get communication in this church. I also am very unhappy about the two services being separate now an hour. I miss seeing some of you guys that I don't get to talk to anymore because there's so much time between coffee hours. Here's another thing. We're losing communication that way. And friendship. One of the reasons I joined this church was to have friends in this community. I was an outsider coming into Oconomowoc, and I wanted to have friends along with my friendship with Christ. And I have found it in this church, but I'm starting to lose it. And maybe it's because I'm getting gray hair and hearing aids and all this other bit. But you guys are my family. We need to be together. And I think if that comes across about our church and gets out into the community, that they are one big family, I think that will help us a lot. Thank you for hearing me.
Amen. Any other discussion on this topic? The young lady in the back.
She's probably under 30.
Well, and I think I just bring a different perspective. I agree, there's fantastic opportunities to grow with the communication. I think we have a lot of communication, and I just don't know where it's coming from at times. For example, do I sign up out there? Do I get an email? I love my phone calls from Trudy. You know, where is the communication coming from? So I think reevaluating and what is the most effective way to communicate. So will Google Docs help now communicate what is the logistics going on in the meetings, but how are we reaching out to our volunteers? So I'll tell you, a phone call from Liz or Trudy or Amy went a long ways versus me seeking out, like, how do I find my way to fit in here as a new member? And I love how you brought up the fellowship. Have we ever thought about doing one fellowship? We're talking about being a family. Why create two? So I would love to bring my family to have coffee at a table next to you. I think that's where we could look at growing. You know, I know they have their practice and everything, so that's, I think, why we split. But let's encourage one fellowship instead of two. That's all I have.
With breakfast.
By the young folks. Oh.
Just one more advantage to having everybody have those minutes. When you're one of the people that is calling for volunteers, it would be easier then to be able to tell if you're calling people that are doing 3 other things during that service. There were a lot of people that I called and left messages for who were in the choir or doing fellowship hour, and so of course we're unavailable to serve communion, and it might be easier because people volunteer for everything. It'd be nice to be able to coordinate that, and I think sending those minutes out would help.
Anyone else? Okay. Did we? Yes, there is.
Speaking of volunteers, it's been 5 years since we established the prayer shawl group, and at that time we had 13 knitters. We are now down to about 3. So if there's somebody who would like to learn how to knit or would, want to wait and do it in the fall when it's cooler, we are looking for some knitters. We are sending 10 prayer shawls to the General Synod because a request came in. They're going to have a prayer room there. And then the next Sunday, we had somebody come and ask for 4 more prayer shawls. So we're getting kind of skinny. But then again, we don't give out many in the summertime. But think about it, and if you'd like to learn how to knit in the fall or in the summer, just give me a call and we can make it happen.
Thank you. We do still, let's stay back on the topic. Is Lois, are you part of this discussion?
I just wanted to remind our parliamentarian that we have a motion.
That's where we were going.
That's where he was going, I knew that.
So we have a motion on the floor to disseminate all of the ministry minutes. I'm assuming committee minutes, project, like golf outing or whatever minutes to everybody. It sounds like maybe Google Docs are the way to go.
I would say it's change the verbiage. It's not disseminating. It's making it available to access.
Right.
Okay. Pardon?
I make amendment to the motion that it's making the minutes of the access of availability. We're not disseminating it. We're giving you a link that you can access it.
Second.
Okay.
We have to vote on the amendment.
We do have to vote on the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Passed. The last thing I want to mention. Oh my goodness! I thought that's what I did. Well, thank all kinds of parliamentarians. Okay, now we're going to take a vote on the motion itself, correct? What is it? Here we go.
What is the motion, Fred?
The motion is that we will make the ministry minutes accessible to access. For all members of the congregation.
Is it just ministry, or is it
Project
committee
groups.
and project?
All minutes.
I would say all minutes.
So all minutes would be ministries, project groups, and committees, accessible to the entire congregation. Pastor Dave?
Fred, just a concern. I don't know about personnel committee minutes.
Right.
And I also don't know about pastor parish relations committee. Those are 2 that should not be public.
I would agree.
Right.
Okay. Anything that's of a personal nature will not happen confidential, okay?
In addition to that, I was just gonna say, if there's some things potentially that are not ready for public yet, let's say you're considering a couple of different things, I don't know if you want every pieces of the minutes there. I don't know. There might be some things that you want to hold off on putting in to everybody because then that creates more distractions or problems, or say, hey, I think you're doing this, what's going on with that? So there might be some other things that might be not ready that you might want to have different sets.
That's true too. Sanitized minutes. No, but things that aren't finalized. Okay. More discussion?
Jay Stouse. Just wondering if this link would be accessible to anyone in the community.
It would just be through our weekly announcements, so only email to our members.
Well, then friends would be in there too, because emails would be friends and members. Because Liz can't go through, I mean, that's gonna be a pain for her to redo all that.
We may need to somehow, we need to discuss that because there's going to be different opinions on whether it's beyond membership access. I have no problem and think it's a good thing to have all of our members have access. But beyond that, that's a different story. The motion was for membership, was for members. We'll talk about in leadership how to take care of that. But, so the motion is for members having access. So that might mean there's some security or some security codes or passwords that you need to put in before you have access.
Kim?
I say, can we have the motion carried and have that where leadership will determine what that format will be? Because there probably should be some internal discussion about how it's going to actually, the workings of it. I think the motion is to make sure that, yes, they will be made available to the congregation. How that's going to come together would be left up to leadership.
Is that okay? All right.
Call the question.
Amy?
I would like to see a date on it then. I brought this up last year and nothing happened. We're moving forward, and I guess I have no issue with it being confidential with the congregation, but I would like us to set a date that we are getting the minutes to all.
Well, I don't believe a year ago we voted to do it.
No, we didn't.
Well, by voting on it to do it, it'll happen.
Right, but can we put a date that by a certain date leadership decides is determined?
2025?
Would September be acceptable? Okay. Do we have to amend that motion again? Or are we okay?
It's okay.
You approved it, you're just making final
Okay.
decisions of how to do it.
Okay.
Right?
Let's vote.
So can we call the question? If so, I will take a vote. All in favor of voting on the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there opposition? Okay, passed. I guess the last thing I want to say before I'll ask for adjournment, if there's anything else, is I think Liz started with us, what, January 26th-ish or 5th-ish or 27th-ish or something. 28th. I had the right week. So I don't know if everyone has had the opportunity to meet Liz Miller. She's in the back there with her husband, Terry, and she's done a tremendous job for us, Pastor Dave. Everyone I talked to is very appreciative of your efforts. We've done a lot of streamlining, and the office looks pretty neat down there, and we're making. Well, I tell you, she's real good at keeping us all on our toes too. So she's got the lists, and you walk in, and she's going to ask you, have you done this and this and this? And personally, I need that, so I appreciate it. So Liz, thank you for your efforts. With that, if there isn't any other items of business, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Lois Jackson, move to adjourn. Is there a second? Priscilla Bohacek? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Enjoy lunch and the rest of the day. Thank you for coming.